Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another M9 aviation video. Today I just want to do a quick video that illustrates something that could be very dangerous if done in real life, and I guess dangerous to your virtual flying in a simulator. But I did something kind of stupid today while trying to do an ILS approach into an airport. So to set the stage, I was doing an FSEconomy flight between two airports in Texas. For whatever reason, neither one of those airports have an ATIS or an AWOS frequency, so I was unable to get the weather on the ground or in the air at either one of those locations. And I neglected to set my altimeter while on the ground, matching it up to the real altitude of the airport. Because I fly a mix of real-world weather and manually configured weather, altimeter setting isn't always 2992. So in this case, I didn't set the altimeter. I neglected to do that. I was flying visual, so it probably really didn't matter. It probably should have tipped me off when I went to the first airport, and the pattern altered seemed a little bit low, but I didn't really pay much attention to that. In any case, so I'm coming back to the airport. I've got ILS dialed in. I'm going to do an ILS approach. I'm using the autopilot to fly the ILS approach. To simulate not being able to see outside, what I've done is I got the instrument panel down here. Is the only thing in sight. I wasn't looking out the window. I was actually doing this in VR, but I had the panel moved up, so I had no visibility out the front window. I was using the autopilot to fly, and it was flying in approach mode, so it was doing a fantastic job of holding the localizer and the glide slope. I had 2000 dialed in for my altitude to descend to, so the autopilot would have leveled off at 2,000 feet, which is also the MDA for this particular airport. I had the power set for 100 knots, so by all intents and purposes, this looked like a perfect approach. But let me start the video and kind of explain what happened here. I'll maybe go a little bit faster so it doesn't take so long. But I started at about 3 miles out. Again, we're tracking the localizer, we're tracking the glide slope, we're coming down at 500 feet a minute, we're coming down to 2,000 feet. But I'm starting to cross-check things here, right? So, I'm thinking we're getting pretty close to our decision height. Need to be a bit more aware, but we're right on the glide slope, right on the localizer. But we're less than a mile from the end of the runway. Which is pretty damn close to the end of the runway to have not had an MDA. You see what starts to happen is the middle marker starts beeping. The middle marker on this is again, it's less than a mile if it's a half a mile from the end of the runway. So at that point I'm thinking there's something wrong. So I look up and boom, we're right at the runway. And we hadn't even reached our 2,000 foot MDA. So the point being here is that because I didn't set the altimeter, and I'll show you in a second what I mean by that, because I didn't have the altimeter set, the altimeter was showing an altitude that was actually much higher than I actually was. Had I let the autopilot fly that down to an MDA, it would have smacked us into the runway, which would not have ended well. So in any case, it's good that I looked up. I realized there was something going on. We were way too close to the runway to not have reached MDA. We were at the middle marker, so there was certainly something amiss there. So it's a good thing that I looked up. When I did look up, saw the runway right there, I was able to pull the power off, slow it down. This is a really nice long runway because it's a military base. So it all ended fine. For all of my passengers on board in my flight. We'll get taxied up here to, actually got brave and taxied into the hangar. I've seen guys do this in real life, actually. It's kind of wacky when you see somebody actually taxi an aircraft into the hangar and then turn it around. But not the safest or the smartest thing to do, I would think. Okay, so I went ahead and I got everything shut down here. I went and I looked at the altimeter setting that was being reported by my little nav map, and the altimeter setting was actually, well, let me zoom in here, right? So the altimeter setting we have right now is 3060. That was actually a remnant from flying last night with real weather. When I went and looked at the actual altimeter, setting for this area. It was actually 3031. So you can see, once I dialed back to 3031, now it shows the altitude that we're actually at. So we're about 100, 200, 300, 350 feet below what the altimeter had been set. The moral of the story here is, certainly if you're flying real world, now in real world you'd be talking to ATC, they would have made sure you had the current altimeter setting. They would have probably also, well, in this case, they probably wouldn't have warned us that we were getting too low, because we were actually right on the glide slope. We just weren't where we thought we were. But there's always a possibility that a pilot won't put the right altimeter setting in or gets it wrong. So again, you know, if you're going to be flying instrument approaches, make sure you've got your altimeter set to the right altimeter setting, or what would appear to be an absolute perfect approach could end with your autopilot flying you right into the runway. So, some words of warning. If you like the video, hit the like button, or you'd like to see more videos, please hit the subscribe button. And as always, if you have any suggestions for other videos or other information you'd like to see, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to make a video of that stuff. Thank you much. See you next time.